We also duly pay our respects to the Member of Parliament for the Ashaiman constituency, Honorable Ernest Nogbe. Minister is the Chief Director, Engineer Solomon Ajeti Soa. And now, Your Excellency, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, anytime we gather here as a Ghanaian people, looking forward to pushing and promoting a Ghanaian cause, it's also important to remind ourselves of what makes us up as a people. We'll take 1 or 3 minutes to enjoy and celebrate an aspect of our culture, which is music and dance. And that will be presented to us through a special dance from the Greater Accra region as performed by the Anunyang traditional dance. Shall we welcome them with a big round of applause?
Well, considering that we've all got excited about the final element of that performance, I think we can do a bigger round of applause for them. The Chief Executive Officer of VALCO, Dr. Robert Sambian, is also here to support this commissioning event. Shall we do a big round of applause? Added to the various individuals who are supporting here with their various institutions is the Managing Director of TALO, Jean-Medard Madama. Shall we do a big round of applause? Also bringing us warm felicitations from Central Refinery is Mr. Eric Lin. I duly also acknowledge the presence of key technical advisor of the Ministry of Energy and Green Transition, Dr. Suleiman Yusuf. Dr. Suleiman Yusuf, you know, from this kind of acknowledgement, then I'm sure you'd want to start thinking of running for Member of Parliament. Your Excellency, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, at this time, would like to set our minds back on a historic journey and appreciate even more where TOR has emerged from end arrived at this particular juncture of its history. Over the next few minutes, we'll all focus our attention on the screens as we view this brief audio-visual presentation.
And it was one of the first refineries to be built in Africa. Today, TOR is a pale shadow of itself. When I came, I did my best. I restarted TOR. They started refining products. Indeed, before I left office, our first shipment of crude from our own oil field was given to TOR to refine. And then we left office. The new administration came. That shipload of oil sat in the tanks for years. Eventually, they discounted it and sold it out. And TOR hasn't worked since then till now. All TOR is surviving on is the revenue it gets from the single buoy mooring facility that offloads petroleum products and their storage tanks. That's all. Aside from that, the refinery has not been working for almost more than 6 years of this government's administration.
Every meaningful transformation begins with a vision.
During the 2024 presidential campaign, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama spoke about restoring Tema Oil Refinery to operations. It was more than a campaign message. It was a statement of belief that Ghana's national refinery could work again.
At the time, Tema Oil Refinery Limited had carried years of inactivity and uncertainty.
Tema Oil Refinery.
Tema Oil Refinery. Now disaster looms at the Tema Oil Refinery.
A strategic national asset had fallen silent, and with that silence came questions about Ghana's refining future, industrial capacity, and energy security. But even in that period, the belief that Tema Oil Refinery could work again never completely disappeared.
For His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama, restoring TOR formed part of a broader national agenda to get key institutions working again, rebuild productive capacity, and position Ghana to derive greater value from its own resources.
TOR mattered because it was never merely a lineup of tanks, pipes, and processing units. It represents jobs, technical expertise, national pride, energy security, and the possibility of reducing the country's heavy dependence on imported refined products.
President challenged the nation to believe in the refinery again.
And so when I say we'll come and we'll revamp TOR, it's because it is an important industry for the growth of Tema. It's an important industry for the prosperity of Tema. And there are a lot of young people who can find jobs with a refinery that is working. And so we'll strategically work with any strategic partners who are available to revamp the refinery and even expand it. TOR has extra land to accommodate even another refinery. And so if we have people who are ready to invest with us, we would let them come on board. We'll have a stake. They also will have a stake. And they'll not only revamp TOR, but if they can even build an additional refinery to increase the capacity of TOR, it will be a good thing. It will provide employment, and it will also make the cost of our petroleum products more predictable. Because if we are refining the crude oil ourselves, we can lower the cost of petroleum products. But if we are importing from outside, we must accept whatever price we get on the international market.
With the election of the new administration, the vision moved from public commitment to national responsibility. Soon, the vision became a mandate. The mandate was direct: bring TOR back to operations, not as a monument to the past, but as a working refinery serving Ghana's present and future. When President John Dramani Mahama assumed office, the country was importing more than 80% of its refined fuel, an import bill running into billions of dollars every year. Through the Ministry of Energy and Green Transition, the President's vision was translated into policy direction, oversight, and institutional support. The Honorable Minister for Energy and Green Transition, Dr. John Abdullahi Jinapor, maintained a close interest in the recovery, engaging the refinery's leadership, inspecting work, and reinforcing government's expectation that TOR should operate safely, efficiently, and sustainably.
Honourable members, you may be aware, there's a Petroleum Revenue Management Act. And when you take crude within a stipulated period of time, you have to pay the money into the Petroleum Holding Fund. So for a refinery to take that refinery must satisfy that condition. TOR is a hydra-headed problem. It's a 45,000 barrel capacity refinery. The norm is that these days people are moving to huge refineries. If you take Gamnaja, it's I think 1.2 million. Dangote is 650,000, and it's even number 7. So 45 is quite small, but our objective is to seek a strategic partner, ring-fence the liabilities, and then use the assets as our capital injection and look for a strategic partner who is prepared to also inject some money.
At the refinery, the responsibility was entrusted to a new management team, led by Managing Director, Mr. Edmond Combat, supported by Deputy Managing Director, Alhaji Mustafa Abubakar Batalima, the Board of Directors, and the refinery's workforce.
The leadership assignment was clear, but the path ahead was not easy. Years of inactivity had left technical, financial, and organizational
integrity checks were carried out, critical equipment was repaired, systems were inspected and tested, long-standing maintenance requirements were addressed, and the refinery prepared for the demanding process of restart. Then came one of the most significant undertakings in the recovery journey, the turnaround maintenance on the crude distillation unit, the first comprehensive work of its kind in years.
As soon as our MD was appointed, he began a series of engagement with staff. And one of the things that dawned on him when he visited the department was that a gentleman rose up and said to him, MD, look around in this room. And MD was just looking around. He said, MD, we have the best of engineers in this room or in this plant. We have the best talents, we have the expertise, we have the skills. Please and please, make good use of our talents before we retire, for we've been sitting idle for so many years. It was then that MD, when we got back to the office, it dawned on him and he called me and said, DMD, I think it's time to set up the turnaround maintenance team to begin work.
The work demanded coordination across production, maintenance, technical, safety, procurement, finance, and support services. It also required difficult choices, tight timelines, and a workforce willing to keep going when progress was not always immediately visible. Significantly, TOR financed substantial portions of the turnaround maintenance from internal generated funds, a decision that reflected disciplined stewardship and the determination to use available resources to move the refinery forward.
The minister's commendation recognized more than completed maintenance. It recognized initiative, financial discipline, technical commitment, and the resolve of a workforce determined to restore Ghana's national refinery. Beyond the processing units, the recovery touched other parts of the organization. Storage and supply operations received attention. Tank rehabilitation continued. Governance and risk oversight were reinforced. Staff transportation and operational logistics improved. Workspaces and public areas were renewed to reflect an institution returning to purpose. Piece by piece, system by system, the refinery was being prepared to move again.
The proudest moment was when we finished the turnaround maintenance on schedule. And there was a day I went to the powerhouse utilities department and I heard some of the TOR workers gossiping. And these are workers who actually did the work, and they were like, you know, like, are they those that did this job? They couldn't believe that they were able to do this job within this period of time. And for me, I realized that, look, we had actually succeeded because these were workers who were capable, but was made to sit idle for all these years without working. And the fact that, and you know, there is a way that you can be good at something and people's attitude can let you lose self-confidence in yourself. And these were astute engineers and other institutions were working and they were not working. And for the fact that they were able to get this done and get together and be discussing the works of their hands and be surprised that they were able to get this done within this period of time was a proud moment for me.
Then, after months of preparation, the work began to speak for itself.
Crude was received, systems came alive. The refinery returned to processing on December 19, 2025. TOR moved from plans and preparations to production, refining crude once again and demonstrating that the national refinery could return to meaningful operation.
I'm also pleased to announce to you that Tema Oil Refinery is back. The new management of the refinery has successfully completed extensive turnaround maintenance. And I'm pleased to inform you that this August House that for the first time since 2018, the refinery has commenced processing of crude oil into petroleum products again. So, Mr. Speaker, let me assure our countrymen and women that the energy sector reforms continue unabated. I remain fully committed to turning around the sector, strengthening its foundations, and ensuring reliable, affordable, and sustainable energy security for our nation.
This was the point at which the circle began to close. The president had asked the nation to believe that Tema Oil Refinery could work again. Now, the evidence was visible in operating units, products movement, and a refinery workforce back at work. The results were also reflected in the public conversation surrounding Tema Oil Refinery.
Conversations around TOR mostly centered around inactivity and certainty. Today, it's about production, it's about progress, and the fact that TOR is working again.
The responsibility now was to sustain operations, protect the gains made, and continue the work required to position TOR for long-term value.
Progress is measured not only by what is achieved, but also by the confidence it inspires.
The past year had some things that stood out for me, and there were pointers to this. The first pointer or indicator was that TOR was in the news for good reasons, positive reasons, that TOR had started refining crude again.
A vision became a mandate.
A mandate became work.
The work produced results. And now, the president returns to Tema Oil Refinery, not to repeat the promise, but to see what that promise sets in motion.
He returns to a refinery processing crude again.
To a workforce restored to purpose. To a national asset moving from uncertainty towards sustained operation.
The story of TOR's recovery belongs to many hands. The national leadership that sets the direction, the ministry that provided oversight, the board and management that carried the responsibility, and the men and women of the refinery who did the work. But the journey is not complete. A refinery is not restored by one successful restart alone. Its future will depend on sustained crude supply, disciplined operations, continued investment, sound governance, safety, and a collective determination to protect the progress made.
What has been achieved, however, has restored something that has been missing for years: belief. Belief that a strategic national institution can rise again. Belief that vision, backed by leadership and hard work, can produce results. Belief that Ghana can refine more of its own crude and retain greater value within its economy.
A promise was made. A mandate was given.
A team went to work. Today, the president returns to a refinery that is working again. Tema Oil Refinery is back in motion. And with every safe and sustained day of operation, Ghana moves forward with it.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, from an event design perspective, something very interesting has happened today. Considering that His Excellency the President, usual of him, has been on his feet since early hours of yesterday, going from south to north and back to the southern part of this country, it is interesting to note that at a certain point when the event minds were thinking that the documentary was taking a bit of time, he said, Niama, allow us to watch the documentary. Allow us to watch. The second note, ladies and gentlemen, is the fact that for the very first time in my 20-plus year career as a professional master of ceremonies, I see staff of an organization applaud from moment to moment as we viewed an audiovisual documentary of their organization. This is amazing, indeed. And of course, I'm sure that the biggest takeout from here today will be the three words and the three elements of that line. TOR is back. On that note, I'd like to remind all of us that we're live on the Station of the Nation, GTV, and all of its social media platforms streaming this event live. Also live on XYZ TV and its platforms, and also on all the platforms of the Tema Oil Refinery. At this time, I would like to pay respects to the Executive Secretary of the Importers and Exporters Association of Ghana, Mr. Samson Asaki Awingobit. Shall we do a big round of applause for him? Also here to support His Excellency's commissioning, ladies and gentlemen, is the Executive Director of Institute of Energy Policy Research, Mr. Kwadwo Boku. Dr. Steve Mantiao is the co-chair of the Ghana Executive Industry Transportation Transparency Initiative, I beg your pardon. Shall we do a big round of applause? And of course, Engineer Charles Anefi is bringing us solidarity from Ghana Gas. He's a senior manager in charge of commercial operations. Shall we do a big round of applause? And of course, we'd like to say a very big welcome as well to the CEO of SAC Energy, Alhaji Sulemana Bashiru. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the operations of TOR has other elements attached to it, and that is the continuous work and collaboration with the unions. Today we'll have two brief messages from the unions, and we'll begin with Dr. Abdallah Salifu, who's representing UNICOF. Shall we welcome him with a big round of applause? And I hear someone say champion chairman. Well, please welcome him with a big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Immediately after this, we will also have the message from the Ghana Petroleum Transport Chemical Workers Union, GPTCWU. But for now, we'll take the message from UNICOF. Okay. So both unions have agreed to have one message in unison. Shall we do a big round of applause for them?
Joe boy! Joe boy! Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Ghana, honorable ministers, traditional leaders, distinguished guests, board of directors, management and staff of Tema Oil Refinery, ladies and gentlemen. It is with great pleasure that I stand before you today on behalf of Tema Oil Refinery workers on this historic occasion, the commissioning of crude heater 01F61R. Mr. President, your presence here today sends a strong message that the future of Tema Oil Refinery matters, that Ghana energy security matters, and that the hard-working men and women who remain committed to this company are not forgotten. Indeed, today marks a critical milestone in the journey to reset TOR to its rightful place in Ghana's petroleum industry. Undoubtedly, for workers of Tema Oil Refinery, like many Ghanaians, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah's vision for TOR never dies. Mr. President, it is refreshing to mention that until March 2025, TOR was deliberately branded as non-viable entity, and that it was only suitable for a tank farm business. The workers of Tema Oil Refinery resisted and prevailed. As if that was not enough, TOR again was rebranded as insolvent entity and priced at $22 million for 10 years lease agreement. Once again, Mr. President, TOR workers resisted and prevailed, because we believe that that every aspect of the refinery was viable except its board of directors and management then. Your Excellency, your return to office was not only a divine intervention for Mother Ghana, but a call to save TOR. The recent happenings in TOR suggest that TOR workers were right, and that the only aspect of TOR that was not viable was indeed its management then. As workers of TOR, we pledge to offer our unlimited effort to augment the strength of our humble but hard-working MD and his team in unison and strength to achieve your renewed vision for TOR. Mr. President, on behalf of workers, permit me to also say thank you to our humble, focused, and result-oriented energy minister who continues to provide guidance and strength whenever he's called upon. Mr. Minister, workers are indeed grateful for your leadership. Mr. President, it is worth mentioning that the recent resetting wave in TOR only brought back hope and operational life in the refinery, but also reduce the financial pressures and temperatures of the ordinary worker. Over 260 workers have received promotion across all job categories, whilst our collective bargaining agreement that has been in comatose for close to a decade have also been reviewed, leading to new salary regimes across all job categories. That notwithstanding, Mr. President, to consolidate these gains made so far and permanently usher TOR into an irreversible path for growth, we, the workers, are humbled to request the following interventions. 1. Government takeover of TOR's legacy debt to consolidate the solid foundation laid by the current MD for a complete takeoff, resilience, and sustainability. Integrate TOR into the upstream crude oil supply to ensure secure and continuous processing for profitability, energy security, and economic stability of Ghana. For a long-term sustainability, we seek for comprehensive roadmap for TOR's capitalization and ownership restructuring through Ghana's reputable stock market to reduce government interference, ensure prudent and maximize profit for the Ghanaian people. Mr. President, workers like many Ghanaians will humbly want to see this as one of your legacies to protect TOR from self-seeking leadership after your tenure of office. Your Excellency, it is also important to reveal that the refinery is currently undergoing a series of maintenance which are capital intensive. We plead that the ESLA receivable be released to TOR to augment the effort of management as a matter of short-term intervention. Your Excellency, we are also grateful for the construction and expansion of TOR's main road and plead that the contractor speed up works as TOR goes into full operation. We thank you for listening to Voice of the Workers. We thank you for your leadership. May Almighty Allah continue to grant you wisdom, strength, and good health as you journey through the agenda of resetting, aim to bring back hope to the ordinary Ghanaian. Indeed, Mr. President, we the workers of TOR are convinced that Tama Oil Refinery will rise again. Long live Tama Oil Refinery, long live Ghana. Thank you.
We're very grateful to you, Doc, and the rest of the teams from UNICOF and GPTCWU. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me appreciate them with another round of applause. Through our live streams on various networks this morning, which is the first day of August in 2026, we're reaching various corners of this nation, including a constituency called Yape Kusago. Their member of parliament is one who has been a man of a strong voice. A man of a strong voice whether or not he was in power. A man of a strong voice who led the effort of his party and his party's policy for energy whether or not he was in government. Many months down the line, after being given that key responsibility of leading a sector which is critical to Ghana's development agenda, everybody can see the writings on the wall. And those writings on the wall are those of positivity and those of a sign of a travel to massive recovery. Your Excellency, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, and good people of Ghana, please help me with warm applause to welcome the hard-working Honorable Minister for Energy and Green Transition, Dr. John Abdullahi Jinapo.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, Let me skip the salutations and just say, ladies and gentlemen, as Minister for the sector, I'm very, very happy to be part of today's historic occasion. Indeed, when Mr. President appointed me, he gave me his marching orders. Work with your team and ensure that we restore this strategic refinery. I received some visitors in my office, and they had told me that TOR refinery was not going to work with local Ghanaian workers. And so a decision had been taken to lease off this refinery for $22 million for 10 years. The only thing that saved you workers here was that the whole agreement had not received parliamentary approval yet. And so I had a decision to take to proceed to Parliament and seal up the agreement or pursue an alternative course. After briefing Mr. President, he was emphatic that we should work and restore the refinery on our own. And I tell you, in less than 6 months, your MD and the team raised $22 million to invest in the refinery. Under the visionary leadership of His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama, we resolved that we'll restore TOR refinery to its rightful place as a strategic refinery capable of supporting our energy security and industrial transformation agenda. Today's commissioning is therefore not as a result of someone else's work. It's because of a deliberate policy by His Excellency the President. And for me, it tells you one thing, and ladies and gentlemen, this is critical. Leadership matters the most. With the right leadership, with focus and with vision, we can surmount all troubles that we face as a country. And our objective is not just to restore this refinery. Our objective is to also refine Ghana's domestic crude oil. And so today, we are not just celebrating revamping this refinery, but we are also celebrating off-taking Ghana's domestic crude oil for processing. And that tells you that we are adding value to our own resources. When I visited here, I did not see one expatriate. All the people I met here were Ghanaians. And I could tell that you were determined to bring this refinery back to life. And something happened. They did not realize it. I have a way of observing the culture of an organization. So when we came down, I said, MD, I want to use the washroom. And he said, oh, can we go to my office? I said, no. I want to use the public washroom. I knew what I was looking out for. When I went there and I saw the renovation that he did there, I knew that he meant business. And sometimes it means nothing to others. But certain small, minute things tells you the vision of the MD and his team. And so let me commend all of you. Let me commend the workers in particular who work tirelessly around the clock, 24 hours in a day, to ensure that we restore this refinery. And I know that His Excellency the President means well for this refinery. I know that he means well for this refinery. And so whatever decision we take, we put this country first, because that is most important. And from where we are heading, this refinery, we are not done yet. We still have a lot to deliver and a lot to achieve together. Ladies and gentlemen, your raw material is the crude. And so let me assure the Fujairah Group and the Triangle Group that as minister,
you can count on me. I also wish to commend the board, management, and staff, and in particular the board. And for me, this should be a case study for all organizations. The rapport and the working relationship between the MD and the board chairman is excellent, and I commend them. Let's continue working together. The board has to support the MD so that the MD can achieve his objective and aims. And I thank the board for what you are doing. So far, all the reports I've received, very positive. There's something that happens. The president keeps watching his ministers and observing us. And as minister, I keep watching you, the chief executive, and I'm observing you. Combat, as far as I'm concerned, if I were asked to mark you, I'll give you 100%. And so it is with several other agencies under my stewardship. As a president, deliberately chose young people and very experienced people in some other areas. It's a deliberate decision by the president. So when you see some old people somewhere and you see some young people somewhere, the president has set up that team to achieve his objective, and he knows who to play where and which position that person plays. Your Excellency, as we celebrate today's monumental achievement, we also recognize that there is still more work to be done. Ghana's ultimate objective is to become self-reliant when it comes to petroleum products and also export to other neighboring countries. And so we are working around the clock to obtain or achieve this objective. And from what we are doing so far with all domestic refineries, I am confident that we would achieve this target and even go beyond that target. In the upstream sector, when we assumed office, we were seeing continuous decline of crude oil production. First year, second year, third year, fourth year, fifth year, continuous decline. This year, I'm happy to announce that we've reversed that trend. Crude oil production is going to go up. And it's the same with TOR Oil Refinery. For 8 years, the refinery was in decline. For 7 years, you couldn't even publish your financials. Under this current management, all the 7 years, they've been able to work on your books, and they've published the financials, and it's turning around to be positive. So when we talk about the reset agenda, this is the reset agenda. We are creating jobs. We are adding value. And yesterday when I went to Mr. President's house, he brought another angle. He said, you know, so when TOR Oil Refinery and Central, they take delivery of the oil, how do they pay? And I said, Mr. President, in accordance with the Petroleum Holding Fund and in accordance with the Petroleum Revenue Management Act, they have to go and look for dollars and pay in foreign currency. He gave me instructions. Unfortunately, the finance minister and the governor, they were around. He said, rethink. Take a second look at it. When TOR Oil Refinery takes the crude and they process and sell it in Ghana Cedi, why don't we pay Ghana Cedi into that account and use our own Cedi rather than going to the forex and buying dollars? And then the governor said, yes, Mr. President, you are right. Because when we go to the market and we buy forex, we put pressure on our currency. We add cost to it. So next week, let's have a meeting so that we can restructure that. Ladies and gentlemen, now, Umpe President, we. Thank you very much. I'm most grateful.
And Honorable Minister, the sector is grateful for you for the sound leadership and direction that you have offered since you are given this very crucial responsibility. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me appreciate the Honorable Minister, Dr. John Abdullahi Jinapo. His Excellency's commissioning of refurbished element of TOR is ably supported by our security services, who are represented by the TEMA Service Regional Commander of the Ghana National Fire Service, ACFO number 2, Patrick Nani Salah. Also representing the flag officer of the Eastern Naval Command is Commander Lucas Oklu. From the Ghana Navy. Of course, Lieutenant Colonel Enoch Audu is the Commanding Officer 1 of the Infantry Battalion at Michel Camp. From the SEPS Division, or the Customs Division of GRA, is the Sector Commander for TOR, Mr. Williams Osei Appa. And the Chief Revenue Officer, Prosper Tete, and Chief Revenue Officer, Johnson Chumesi. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me appreciate them. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I look across here and see faces of anticipation. Anticipation of the words of the man who's our guest of honor and also the father of the nation. Before that, however, I'd like to usher all of us on a journey of celebration of art, coming from an amazing Ghanaian lady with extraction from here in the Greater Accra region and other parts of the country, blessed with an amazing talent of word which goes to tell beautiful artistic stories. She has performed on many national and international platforms, and today she comes here not only with her aesthetic elements, but with a mind and depth that will take us on a meaningful journey as we celebrate a very important chapter of development in our beloved nation, Ghana. With a warm round of applause, please help me welcome the nationally and internationally acclaimed Apioko Seram Ashok Abe.
Good afternoon. Oh, it's a good afternoon. We have to do better than that. Good afternoon. There we go. Especially to the chief of Bonkata Manso, Injekbonsi, proud daughter of the soil. So I'm here to consecrate the moment. We've heard the story, we've heard the journey, and indeed, it's evident that the reset is here. So a round of applause for that, Your Excellency. So we've heard several R words. We've heard reset, we've heard revival, we've heard not one, but I'm going to say another. The resurrection, and that's the title of my piece today, the resurrection. So my job here today is to consecrate the spirit and the soul of what we're doing here today in spoken word. So I need some help from you. When I say I go, what's the response? Thank you. When I say once upon a time, what's the response? Time, time. And then when I point at you, the audience, I only want you to say, TOR is back. So repeat it, TOR is back. Thank you. I go. I go. I'm the royal town cry, I'm the queen of my poetic woman queendom, I'm the goddess of African savannas, jungles, rivers, and oceans. I am the lioness, I am the tigress, and I am the Ghanaian mermaid. I'm the matriarch of modern poetic nations, I am poetry incarnate, and my pen fears no sword, no man, no woman, no child, no beast, no plague. Forget the muse, for I am the muse. Before this morning, before this afternoon, before this day, before the ribbon, before the steel learned once again to carry the pulse of crude through its veins, the earth had already spent millions of years writing this story. Not with ink, but with forests, with oceans, with creatures so ancient that they disappeared before language ever found a mouth. Once upon a time. Once upon a time. Imagine it. An entire forest collapsing into darkness and refusing to disappear. Imagine sunlight. Instead of escaping into the sky, choosing to bury itself inside, beneath rock, beneath memory, beneath centuries so vast that they make history look like yesterday's newspaper. Once upon a time. That is crude. Not merely an oil. It's ancient sunlight. It's a forest that never stopped breathing. Its time compressed until it became black enough to stain the hands of the future. And so who looks at a drop of crude and sees an extinct rainforest? Who touches it and feels 300 million years pressing back? Who has the courage to call something so dark, so dirty? Because when you touch crude, mujijino, it's dirty. But someone has the courage to call something like that valuable. And perhaps that's where the miracle begins. Ago. It's not when treasure is discovered, but when somebody recognizes treasure before anyone else does. Ago. An oil refinery is one of the strangest places on earth. It takes the oldest thing in the room and somehow makes tomorrow with it. It persuades fire to become a teacher. Then it teaches pressure to become a sculptor. Then it sculpts and molds heat to become a language. And nothing arrives here in its finished or final form. Everything enters these gates, carrying possibility. The crude, the machine, the apprentice, the nation, everything. And so once upon a time, in 1963, when Ghana was still young enough to believe that imagination belonged in concrete, someone stood here and made a decision that was larger than engineering. They looked at crude and asked, what else could you become? They looked at the coastline and imagined industry. They looked at a nation which was barely learning its own name and believed that it could refine not only oil, but destiny itself. That is the kind of audacity that builds countries. That is the kind of audacity that raises and nourishes great nations. Ago. But every dream, if it is large enough, will one day be tested. And it's not by enemies. It's by time, it's by neglect, it's by fatigue, by the slow, almost invisible erosion that teaches even steel, even the metal, that the language of waiting is what it should do instead of work. Ago. And so there were mornings when this refinery stood like a cathedral after the choir had gone home. No music, no sound, quiet. The pipes remembered songs that they could no longer sing. Ago. The valves held their breath for so long that silence began mistaking itself for permanence. Ago. Rust rehearsed ownership. The rust, not cheme. The rust. How? Dust promoted itself to management, and even the echoes resigned. Ago. But you see, the refinery did not stop believing in itself and its possibilities. We did. Ghanaians did. The custodians of our land and legacy did. Or at least, many of us thought that it had become easier to inherit disappointment than to imagine restoration. But listen carefully. Silence has never been the opposite of life. Repeat that. Silence has never been the opposite of life. Silence is often what hope sounds like while it gathers strength. And so listen. Seeds are silent. Babies growing in the womb are silent. The deepest parts of the ocean are silent. And beneath every silence worth respecting, there is something extraordinary which is rehearsing either its arrival or its return. Ago. And then the hands. Not the headlines that we saw in the documentary. Not the beautiful speeches that we've heard here. The hands that could read a machine. Our engineers who know how to read a machine with their hands in the same way that our grandmothers read our faces. Ago. Hands that know the difference between a tired engine and a defeated one. Hands that climb ladders before sunrise, argued with stubborn bolts, listened to pumps like doctors listening for a heartbeat. Hands that went home creased with grease, smelling of grease, kissing their children with palms that carry the day's labor, and returned before dawn to begin another conversation with steel. Ago. The people, the men, the women who worked here, you were left with nothing. But TOR is what? TOR is back. Ago. There is a holiness in the concept of maintenance that we rarely celebrate. To believe that something is worth repairing is one of the purest acts of love. Engineers, you know this. Mechanics know this. Mothers know this. Teachers know this. Nations must learn it too. And so once upon a time, then one morning, the refinery cleared its throat. Not dramatically, just quietly. And a valve opened, pressure answered, fire remembered its manners, steel stretched like a giant waking from a long unwilling sleep, and somewhere beneath all that metal the earth smiled. Because after carrying ancient sunlight for millions of years, it had finally found a people who were willing to finish the sentence, because crude began to move. Not as a liquid, but as a promise, as employment, as dignity, as confidence, as tomorrow made visible. Ago. Ago. Your Excellency, today you return not merely to commission a refurbished crude distillation unit of the Tama Oil Refinery. You return to witness a conversation between a promise and its proof. A promise that you made and the proof that promises can be kept. Ago. A conversation between vision and discipline. A conversation between policy and people. A conversation between what is imagined and what thousands of determined hands refuse to abandon. And so before this ribbon is cut, before we do this commissioning, permit a poet like me to ask one impossible question. What else can Ghana have? And what else do we have that we've overlooked and that we've mistaken for finished, that we've concluded before its end, and that we've ended before its time? Ago. Which classroom, which river, which library, which factory, which dream, which young woman who is writing poems between television deadlines, which young man who is repairing radios in a kiosk, which child who is sitting in the back row carrying a future that no one has yet had the vision and the imagination to refine? Ago. Perhaps the greatest lesson that this refinery teaches us has nothing to do with petroleum at all. Ago. It is the fact that we never have to confuse what is raw with what is worthless. The most powerful things on earth rarely arrive polished. They arrive covered in possibility. Ago. And so today, as crude runs once more through these veins of steel, may something else move through us. May we become a nation that looks longer, believes deeper, repairs sooner, abandons less, and imagines beyond the obvious. Ago. Ago. May we learn to recognize greatness while we still wear our work clothes. May we honor hands before they become statues. May we stop asking only what is this and begin asking the far more dangerous question, what could this become? Because that is how forests become fuel. That is how pressure becomes power. That is how promises become policy. And that is how labor becomes legacy. Ago. Ago. I have some ladies who are going to help me do something. They have trays. In those trays, there are some envelopes that are stained with black ink. That signifies the heritage that His Excellency the President saw and decided to guard, because our national pledge says what? Hey, some people are like, they are now thinking about the pledge. I promise on my honor to be faithful in Ghana, I promise on my honor to be faithful and loyal to Ghana, my motherland. I pledge myself to the service of Ghana with all my strength and with all my heart. I promise to hold in high esteem the heritage won for us through the blood and toil of our fathers. And you see, heritage didn't just exist when we passed away, the years past. We reinvent it all the time. And so perhaps, the richest thing ever discovered beneath Ghana's soil was never gold or bauxite or crude oil at all. Perhaps it was the stubborn, unrefined brilliance of her people waiting like ancient sunlight for someone to believe that they were bringing her back to life. And so, ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellency, I light this candle to match my flaming red hair, but more important, to signify that bright fire that burns from TOR when you drive past it. What I remember seeing as a child, as a young girl going to school in Tema, that flame is back. And so TOR is. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. My name is Apioko.
Once again, TOR is. Please do a big round of applause for Apioko. Good people of Ghana, those of you gathered here and those who are viewing this
TV, the station of the nation. And many years down the line, as I continue this relationship with him, I do not struggle at all when I have to perform this role, because every other time there is something new to talk about. Today, the new thing to talk about is that by this act and by the leadership that he has provided, he is telling us about our attitudes as Ghanaians and instilling a certain value in all of us. And that value is that whenever you promise or whenever you make an assurance, you have to make sure that it is made manifest. That is the story of His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Ghana and Commander-in-Chief of the Ghana Armed Forces, the man who gave us a promise and made an assurance that he will ensure the restoration and the reset of TOR. Today, he is here to help all of us live that experience. With warm applause, with much respect and love, please help me welcome His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Ghana, Mr. John Dramani Mahama.
Thank you. Kindly be seated. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Nia Jiti, the second Mankalo and acting president of the Tema Traditional Council. New Kusu Obli, the fifth Mankalo from Katamanso traditional area, and all our traditional leaders who are here with us. The Honorable Minister for Energy and Green Transition, Dr. John Abdullahi Jinapo, senior government officials present, Chairman of the Board of Tema Oil Refinery, Honorable Nayom Pidikio, and your board members, Managing Director of Tema Oil Refinery, Edmond Combat, and your staff and workers of the refinery, members of the diplomatic corps, captains of industry, members of the clergy, friends from the media, ladies and gentlemen. I want to say how happy and gratified I am to be here today. Our poet painted a picture of this refinery, and she said dust had promoted itself into management. That was a very sad image of the refinery at the time. Dust had promoted itself into management. Today, I'm happy that dust has been relegated to dust. We stand in the vision of our first president, Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. Indeed, to him belongs the vision, because as far back as our post-colonial period, he had a vision that Ghana needed an industry like the Tema oil refinery. And so he commissioned it in 1963. At that time, it was called Ghana Italian Petroleum Company, GAIP. It was not until 1977 that Ghana took over 100% the shares of this refinery. Since then, its history has been checkered. It has had periods of glory, it has had periods of downturn. And if you look at the story of TOR, it reinforced a certain perception that state-owned enterprises could not operate, and that the only way a state-owned enterprise could survive was to be sold off to the private sector. TOR has disproved that theory. Because as the minister told you, if not for the bravery of the workers and their resistance, this edifice here, this refined strategic national asset here, would have been leased out for 15 years for $22 million. But today, to the glory of God, a very determined management and board, very talented and efficient workers, working with strategic partners, has turned the fortunes of this refinery around. And I must say that this has been done without a single CD from the government of Ghana. TOR has achieved all this on their own. Government has not bailed them out. We haven't put a single CD into this rebound. And so I want to commend the board and chairman. I want to commend the management, Edmond Combat and his team, to commend the minister, Honorable Jinapor, and the ministry for a fantastic job done. Well done, Aiko. So today is more than just the commissioning of refurbished refinery units at TOR, and it's more than just the receipt of another cargo of Ghanaian crude oil. It is above all a declaration of purpose. We're gathered here to celebrate something much greater than just the machines and equipment, pipelines and storage tanks. We're here to celebrate the resilience of a nation that refuses to surrender its strategic assets to decay and decline. We're here to affirm that Ghana possesses not only the natural resources, but also the determination, the expertise, and the vision to transform those resources into lasting prosperity for our people. Every generation is confronted with defining choices. Some choose the easier path of abandoning institutions when they fall into difficulty. Others choose the more demanding path of rebuilding them, restoring confidence, renewing hope, and preparing them to serve future generations yet unborn. Ours has been to deliberately choose the second path. That is the essence of what we call the reset agenda. Reset is not merely about changing policies. It is about restoring confidence in our country, restoring confidence in our people. It is about rebuilding institutions that once symbolized Ghana's industrial ambition. It is about proving that disciplined leadership, competent management, and a shared national vision can revive even those institutions that many had given up on. When our poet spoke, she said as a child, she used to see the fire burning on top of the stack here in TOR. I just wish to assure her that she won't see that fire again, because it was gas that was being flared. Today, TOR is converting that gas into energy to run the refinery. So if you don't see the fire, it doesn't mean TOR is not working. It's working more efficiently than it did before. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it's always a pleasure for me to return to Tema Oil Refinery. But I must confess that this visit is especially meaningful to me.
There's something profoundly inspiring about seeing these furnaces burning again, about hearing the hum of production, and about watching Ghanaian engineers, technicians, and workers once more doing what they have always demonstrated they can do with excellence. A functioning refinery represents more than just industrial capacity. It represents confidence, it represents jobs, it represents technological capability, it represents energy security, and above all, it represents a nation's determination to control more of its own economic destiny. History reminds us that no country has achieved sustainable industrial transformation by just exporting raw materials while importing most of the finished products that it consumes. Nations become prosperous by adding value to what they produce, by developing local industries, and by creating opportunities for their own people. That was the vision that inspired our first president to establish the Tema Oil Refinery more than 6 decades ago. It remains just as relevant today as Ghana seeks to build a stronger, more competitive, and more self-reliant economy. Nearly 10 years ago today, towards the end of my first administration, I had the privilege of witnessing something similar: the arrival of Ghana's first cargo of indigenous Jubilee crude for refining at this very Tema Oil Refinery. We announced it with a sense of pride. It was a proud moment for our country because it demonstrated that Ghana was capable of connecting its petroleum resources to its domestic industrial production. That achievement represented an important milestone in our national development journey, and it affirmed a simple but powerful principle that Ghanaian resources should create Ghanaian value, Ghanaian jobs, and Ghanaian prosperity. Unfortunately, the years that followed presented significant difficulties. Our first parcel of Jubilee crude that was delivered with such pride was discounted and sold under very opaque conditions. Production at the refinery slowed, operations ceased, debt accumulated, confidence of workers and staff declined, and many came to the belief that Tema Oil Refinery had become an antique relic of the past, an institution whose best days were behind it. Some even suggested that Ghana should abandon refining crude altogether and depend permanently on imported petroleum products. Our government refused to accept that position. Because nations that aspire to greatness do not abandon strategic institutions like TOR whenever adversity strikes. What they do is they reform them, they modernize them, they restore them, and they prepare them to compete again. That conviction informed the commitment I made to the people of Ghana. I pledged that Tema Oil Refinery would work again, not as a symbol of nostalgia, but a catalyst of Ghana's industrial transformation. And that is why I was proud to announce on the floor of the August House Parliament that TOR is back. Promise made, promise fulfilled. Today I stand before you proud to say that that promise that was made has been fulfilled. Leadership ultimately is not measured by the number of promises made, but by the number of promises that are kept. When I assumed office, I was under no illusion about the scale of the challenge before us. Tema Oil Refinery had endured years of operational difficulties. Production had stalled, debts had mounted, critical equipment had deteriorated, and public confidence had been severely eroded. For many Ghanaians, TOR had become a symbol of unrealized potential. And yet, we saw TOR in a different light. We saw an institution worth saving. We saw a strategic national asset that could once again become a pillar of Ghana's energy security and industrial development. Above all, we saw the extraordinary expertise and dedication of Ghanaian men and women who had never lost faith in this refinery, even during its most difficult days. We therefore made a deliberate choice not to abandon TOR, but to restore it back to its former glory. So on 19 December 2025, that decision began to bear fruit when Tema Oil Refinery resumed refining operations. That day marked more than just the restart of a refinery. It marked the beginning of a new chapter in Ghana's industrial history, a chapter defined by confidence, resilience, and purposeful leadership. And as I stated before I started my speech, let me state again that whatever TOR has achieved in this success story has been without a single cedi from the government of Ghana. Today, that journey has gathered remarkable momentum. Since May this year, Tema Oil Refinery has successfully received 3 separate 1 million barrel cargoes of crude oil, one Bonga oil, another from the Jubilee Field, and most significantly recently, Ghana's own Jubilee medium sweet crude. And I wish to state again that TOR fully paid for the Ghanaian crude. It was not given to TOR on credit. TOR has fully paid for the crude. This represents a clear statement of government's commitment to ensuring that our petroleum resources increase value and create value here at home. Of these deliveries, the refinery has already processed 2 million barrels into a wide range of refined petroleum products, including gasoline, gas oil, aviation turbine kerosene, liquefied petroleum gas, kerosene, residual fuel oil, and pre-mixed fuel. This is tangible evidence that TOR is steadily reclaiming its space at the center of Ghana's downstream petroleum industry. Today's commissioning of the refurbished refining units marks another significant milestone in that recovery. And let me also draw attention to something. For almost 7 months now, there has been a war ongoing in the Gulf between Iran, Israel, and America. That war has caused disruption in many parts of the world. In many countries, people are having to queue for fuel. In many countries, the price of fuel has risen astronomically. In many countries, their economies are affected by the current war. I must say that because of the role of TOR and Centuo in refining local crude and making sure that petroleum products are available on the markets, Ghanaians have hardly felt the effects of the war that is going on in Iran. And so once again, I say, TOR, Ayiko. Ghanaians are grateful to you. The rehabilitation of the CDU, the restoration of the residual fuel fluid catalytic cracking unit, the installation of the new F61 crude heater, and the return of boiler number 8 to service represent much more than simple engineering achievements. They represent renewed confidence in Ghana's industrial capability and our determination to invest in infrastructure that serves generations yet unborn. Every investment made here strengthens our national resilience. Every improvement in refining capacity reduces our dependence on imported petroleum products. And every increase in operational efficiency conserves valuable foreign exchange. That is why today's events matter. It is not simply about restoring machinery, it is about restoring national capability and national pride. It is about demonstrating that when government provides clear leadership, when boards exercise responsible oversight, when management embraces professionalism, and when workers dedicate themselves to excellence, institutions once considered distressed can become agents of national transformation. Our vision for Tema Oil Refinery extends far beyond the successful refurbishment of these facilities. We do not intend merely to keep TOR operating. We intend to make TOR more competitive. We intend to make TOR more efficient, and we intend to make TOR more commercially viable. Indeed, we intend to position it as a strategic driver of Ghana's industrial future. That is why today's ceremony should not be viewed as the end of the restoration program. Rather, it marks the beginning of a much bigger national ambition to build an integrated petroleum industry that serves our domestic economy, supports regional trade, and contributes meaningfully to Africa's industrial renaissance. In this regard, I'm pleased to announce that I've directed the Minister of Energy and Green Transitions to work with the board and management of TOR to present government with a strategic plan to expand the capacity of the refinery to 100,000 barrels a day. We will also restructure the Tema Oil Refinery in order that we permanently eliminate political interference in its work. "24-hour economy" is coming. Thank you, thank you. That ambition is entirely consistent with our government's broader economic transformation agenda. As we implement the 24-hour economy initiative and the accelerated export development program, institutions such as TOR will play an increasingly central role in expanding industrial production, supporting manufacturing, creating quality jobs, and strengthening Ghana's competitiveness within the African Continental Free Trade Area. And I was very happy when the Managing Director, Edmond Combat, indicated that TOR is operating 24-hour already. Government is working on the incentives for enterprises that are running 24-hour shifts. We're going to give you incentives in terms of tax breaks, in terms of energy tariffs. But more importantly, when you import capital goods for plant expansion or installation of new plants, will allow you to bring it in tax and duty free. Thank you. So TOR's success is not just the success of a petroleum refinery. It is the success of Ghana's determination to move beyond the export of raw materials and towards an economy that is built on value addition, innovation, and industrial excellence. Our work does not end with restoring TOR. Our vision is to transform Ghana into West Africa's leading petroleum refining, storage, and logistics hub, adding value to our natural resources, creating jobs, strengthening energy security, and driving industrial growth. There's also the plan to expand the SBM so that you can offload more products efficiently and quickly than the current SBM operation is having. So at this juncture, I commend the board, chaired by Mr. Nayong Bilijo. I commend management led by Edmond Combat. I commend the staff. I commend the Minister of Energy and Green Transitions and his team. I commend our strategic partners, Fujairah Oil and Gas and Transitions Group. Is it Transitions? Triangle Group, yes. And Triangle Group, and every Ghanaian whose dedication has made this achievement possible. Your professionalism, resilience, and belief in this national institution has restored confidence in one of Ghana's most strategic assets. So today's ceremony is about more than a refinery. It's a testament to what leadership can do, what sound governance and national determination can achieve. The revival of Tema Oil Refinery demonstrates that Ghana can rebuild its strategic institutions, add value to its resources, and chart a path towards sustainable prosperity. It's another important milestone in our reset agenda and a powerful reminder that our nation's best days lie ahead of us. It is therefore my singular honor to declare commissioned the rehabilitated refining facilities of Tema Oil Refinery and to commemorate the successful receipt and processing of 1 million barrels of indigenous Ghanaian Jubilee medium sweet crude. May these facilities continue to power Ghana's industrial reform and contribute to a stronger, more prosperous and self-reliant nation. May God bless the workers of Tema Oil Refinery. May God bless the management of Tema Oil Refinery. And may God bless our homeland, Ghana. Thank you.
Your Excellency, you can see from the cheers from the crowd that they are very happy you are here. And as the minister said, and it is also my belief, what is happening today is as a result of purposeful leadership. What is happening today is proof that with the right leadership, state-owned enterprises can be run successfully. So, Your Excellency, the board, management, and staff of Tema Oil Refinery Limited wish to present this commemorative plaque to you for the excellent work you have done for Ghana and TOR.
This is the Jubilee Field oil.
This one.
So this is the LPG that you see. Yes. All from the Jubilee Field. Yes.
it comes out as gas. But in the cylinder, it's liquid. Okay.
His Excellency.
I go.
So we'll get back. His Excellency. Yeah, so we are taking the anthem as we stand to take the anthem. So the anthem, please get ready. As His Excellency. So please the anthem. The high table, you'll be joining the bars, the second bars. The high table, you'll be joining the second bars. There's a team that will join His Excellency.
Let's all go forward and then
You'll be joining the second bars, the media will be in the third bars and take the lead. And so please start joining the bars on your right and then join us. Thank you very much. Please the anthem.
Hey!